I have killed one eye boss 2000 times. Hello guys, MikuChibi here, welcome back to another Sword Online Factory video, and today we're gonna talk about the drop rate on board quest, character quest, or quest board, depends how you want to call it, but in this video I will say board quest. So I want to see the drop rate for the boss from the board quest every time you kill it. Now when it comes to data collecting from the board quest, most of the data is collected by guild buff and boost. There's no data when it comes to using the guild buff, so that is why I decided to try it without boost. Using the guild buff, the tier 3, which gives you a 3% increased drop rate, which means it's a 1.15x times increase, which is small, but at least it's something, right? I have been doing 2000 run of one-eyed boss without boost. If you plan to buy boost, I definitely recommend it because it is definitely not worth it. Because with this data, it is actually interesting to see using only the guild buff compared to using guild buff and boost. It took a while to do this, and why I chose one-eyed boss and not other bosses, that is because one-eyed is the easiest one to one-shot for me. For me, it's easy to one-shot the boss with one skill only, without using a rush or etc. I use one skill, one press, and I can do that 2 runs per minute. So since I've killed the boss 2000 times, it took me 1000 minutes, or if you want it in hours, we can convert that. It is around 17 hours, which you can do that in one day if you want to, but for me, I did not do that in one day. This, I believe, took me a month, like 25 days or something, because I don't want to spend hours doing board quests, right? So 30 days to complete 2000 rounds, which is alright, just normal. But if you want to do 2000 rounds per day, go ahead, you can do that, but I'm not planning to do that. So this collecting data have taken a while, that's why I have not talked about more of the drop rate. On the screen here, you see I have collected data. I've done 2000 run on the one-eye boss with guild buff only, and you can see it down here, the guild buff tier 3, which gives you a 1.15x drop rate. Yes, we're gonna talk about the boost later on, but for now, let's have a look on the drop rate. So, with 2000 runs, I got 336 release crystal medium, and that is 16.8% drop rate, or 17 if you want to round it. So you're getting like 1 to 2 release crystal medium every single 10 runs, which is not bad if you can one-shot the boss. If it takes like 3 to 4 skills to kill it, then it will take longer to do the rounds, right? It might not be efficient. At least 1 to 2 release crystal medium every 10 runs, which is not bad. Now, if we look at the large release crystal, I only got 78 out of 2000 runs, and the drop rate for that is close to 4%. Yeah, I really want to do 2000 runs just to get 78 release crystal, and I need to max my weapon prophecy skill. 2000 rounds just to get 78 release crystal large. I don't know, I don't think it's worth it, but hey, it is something, I guess. But if you look at the boss drop for Beast Fang, which is the common drop, and Beast Eye, which is the rare ones you want to get, I got 988 out of 2000, so close to 50%. Every 2 rounds you're getting at least 1 Beast Fang, not bad. Beast Eye is close to same drop rate as Release Crystal Large, so it's kind of rare. Like I said, it's a rare drop, right? I'm kind of surprised that it is the same drop rate as Release Crystal Large, which shouldn't. Maybe they should increase both of these. This is not good, but they should increase it like at least 10%, believe, and this one like 25%, right? 25%, 10% for release crystal, beast eye 10% would be nice. And then let's have a look at stones and core metal. One-eyed boss can drop core metal and stones, and I got 2 stones, 2 core metal. Both of these is 0.1% drop rate. Yeah, 2000 runs, usually at 2 stones and 2 core metal. I can only craft 1 weapon. I can only craft 1 weapon. This is the data for 2000 run killing one-eyed with only guild buff. Now, if we want to add it with a boost, which I didn't, but I'm gonna use the old data I had, which is the Ashura, the floor 25 boss. This is all data I got when I had boost. This is when Ashura was first released, when floor 25 was first released, so it was many years ago. and still had the data for it. So I did 2000 runs on it. I got 499 release crystal medium, like 150 more than without guild buff, and I had 25%, which is much better with guild buff. For release crystal, I had a double of the amount I got, and this was 8% drop rate, 8.35%. For the boss drop, iron ball arms, I got a lot more, 1689 out of 2000 runs, pretty good. And for the rare drop, kind of surprised that I only got 117, which is close to 6%, almost double, but still kind of small. And for stones and core metals, yeah, you can see I got 5 core metals, 3 stones, which is kind of sad, because you definitely want stones more than core metals. But yeah, it's kind of similar, right? Just like X small decimal percentage different, so it doesn't change that much still. When it comes to getting stones and core metals, they're still low as they are still low, like, oh my god. But yeah, with boost, it definitely changed a lot percent, definitely a real high increase. You can see if you're farming board quests, definitely recommending getting boost to farm if you don't farming lab. Now you might say 2000 runs might not be the best sample size, it's still very small, but I don't want to spend many hours on board quests, right? I want to farm something else, I want to focus on something else. But this is something you can do on the meantime, like if you're boring, you don't know what to do, you can do then farm board quests, right? So it's still fine to do board quests. And this is just my own data, right? Can we conclude that this is the actual drop rate? Not really, we can only assume it is around there. We don't have the actual drop rate. And if you compare it to other people, like the one I have talked about before, let's talk about Redos and Blackie. This is the drop rate for Warden, the Black and Warden floor 40 boss, and they have done a lot more. In total, they did 23,000 runs. So this is a biggest sample size, which is really good. And if you just look at the drop rate, and this is with guild buff and boost. Keep it in mind, this is just with guild buff and boost. And if you look at the data with the guild buff and boost, we have somewhat similar. I have close to 25, close to 8%. They also had 25, 8%, right? So pretty similar. And when it comes to the boss drop, they had 9% and close to 6%. I had 85%, so I had 5% less, kind of weird. And then I have close to 6. So pretty similar when it comes to rare drop, right? And for core metal and stones, they had 0.30% for core metals and 0.21% for stones. I had 0.50% for stones and 0.25% for core metal. So yeah, this is small samples, so it doesn't tell us too much, but we can see somewhat similar, where the drop rate for stones and core metal is still small, they're under 1%. So they're kind of similar, but they're different boss, right? I was fighting the Ashura, I was fighting the One Eye, they were fighting the Warden drop. We can say that these bosses, Ashura and Warden, have similar drop rate if you have guild buff and boost on you. So we can assume that every single boss that you fight on board quest has somewhat similar boss. This doesn't show the actual data. Bandai has the actual data, which they are hidden, which I'm pretty sure they won't show it. So we can only assume this is what the drop rate can look like. Not the best, but if you can one-shot the boss, it's good. If you can't, then it's pretty bad, if you want to waste that, right? I have talked a lot about release crystal, you can check that video out about it. But Bandai, please increase the drop rate for board quest as well. I think it's really good if you do that, so you can also compete with Labyrinth. Even though you really want to make people farm with other people's, right, in Labyrinth, which is fine, this doesn't look that good. It is a grindy game, right? So if you're free to play or don't want to spend money on boost, yeah, this is your drop rate. Like, this will be your big drop rate, and with boost, if you have that, it'll be increased a lot and definitely help you progress even further when it comes to weapon prophecy skills, which is the late game, which is something you're gonna focus on during late game. Now, what about the Labyrinth? the drop rate for Labyrinth. Well, I currently work on it, so don't worry, I will make another video about the Labyrinth drop rate, but I can give you a comparison with one-eyed. So I did 23 runs on one-eye boss, the floor 20 boss in Labyrinth, with only guild buff, no boost. I got 4 medium, 1 large, 752 beast fang, 1 beast eye, 4 stone. Yeah, it's a small sample, but it does tell you that if you want to craft the weapon, the highest weapon, use the lab. If you want to do that, you can craft already 2 weapons. Meanwhile, I had to do 2000 runs just to get 2 stones to be able to craft my very first weapon. Yeah, if you're a new player that is farming for highest weapon, I recommend doing Labyrinth. That gives you the stones easiest because it has higher drop rate. Definitely not recommended to do board quest if you are farming for the weapon. Now, why does the Labyrinth has higher drop rate when it comes to crafting for stones, getting stones? And that is because they increased the drop rate. When it comes to farming for the ice weapon, the first weapon series, they increased the stone drop rate by 4 times already now. 3 times, I believe it's 4. So that's why it has a lot higher drop rate. So if you're a new player that farming for ice weapon, I recommend doing Labyrinth just to get your first or second weapon. That's all. Not really recommended doing board quest. It's definitely not worth it. So that was the data. I will try to collect more data for a Labyrinth, of course, but this is used for board quest. So this is the data for me. This is what I got with just the guild buff, no boost, and this is drop rate. And yeah, if you are a player that doesn't rely on boost, and yeah, so if you're free to play, trying to progress your character, have fun doing million of rounds to try to maximize your weapon prophecy. That's me. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time. Take care now, and bye bye.